Hey Jaspreet, so let's take a look at this set of essays. This one is about school, so let's see what you said here. Undoubtedly, schools play an indubitable role in a person's life to acquire knowledge. That's awkward. We'll fix it in a minute. Masses argue that institutions should implement more delightful techniques to teach children while others oppose it. Although the main objective of the school is to impart education to the children, I believe that for easy learning, educational centers should include different amusing ways. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about what's happening here. Essentially, you're on the right track with your introduction. The structure is appropriate. So you've got all the main elements that are good. However, what you've done is you've overdone it a little bit with the vocabulary. You're making such an effort to provide novel language and show a range of vocabulary that what you're actually doing is you're doing a disservice to yourself because some of the language you use is not natural. So, indubitable role, okay, fine. But then delightful techniques is strange. Oppose it, this use of it is strange. You don't want to say the children, okay? And then different amusing ways. Again, yes, I understand that you're trying to find a synonym for entertaining, but it's just falling a little flat. So sometimes simplicity is really in your best interest. Let's try to change around this paragraph a little bit so that it's a little clearer and not so awkward in some places, because that's really what happened. I mean, some of this language is just creating awkwardness rather than effective communication. So let's try to fix that. Undoubtedly, schools play an indubitable role in a person's life as far as the acquisition of knowledge is concerned. Okay, you wrote to acquire knowledge. I wasn't really happy with that expression. Okay. Masses, again, is another it's just not a natural word. So many people argue that institutions should implement more enjoyable techniques to teach children, while others oppose this. Although the main objective of schools is to impart education to children, I believe that for easy learning, educational centers should include different ways that also provide entertainment. Okay, so these are just a couple of suggestions that I think would have fixed this paragraph a little bit. Now I want to move on. No, we don't say to embark on. I see this a ton of times. I don't know where this has surfaced as an appropriate expression. We don't use this. So you could just say to begin. Introducing new techniques of learning makes, yes, children more attentive in the class. Showing audiovisual aids related to the subjects in the classes is not only loved by all the students, but also lends a helping hand to leave a mark in their mind, which remains forever. For instance, learning the workings of a human heart is an uphill task for students. Get rid of the. Through just reading from books, no the, but with the help of smart classes. I don't know what this is, smart classes techniques. I don't know what you mean. If you're going to use a term like this, you probably should define it and tell us what smart class techniques is. The school child can learn through animation, careful, which is easier to learn. Okay, so you have to really be careful here with this because you have this relative clause here, which is easier to learn. So it's almost as if you're saying that animation is easier to learn. So, and that's not what you mean. So this sentence is a little awkward and the meaning is not clear. Okay, so therefore, this technique is not beneficial for the learner, but also entertaining. All right, this also is confusing. I think you mean this technique is not only beneficial for the learner. All right, and that carries a totally different meaning. Okay. Okay, one thing I want you to be really careful about here in this paragraph is that you have to make sure that the focus is on entertainment and not so much just on new technologies and new methodologies. We're talking a little bit in that direction. You kept talking about like audio video aids, and you say it's loved by students, but remember the whole idea here is about entertainment, which means amusement, fun, enjoyment. So you have to make sure that this is clear and this is like consistently shown throughout your essay here, okay? Especially with this thing about smart class techniques, which was really unclear to me. I didn't know what you meant. So, okay, but you have to be a little careful here, all right? Let's move on. Okay, nowadays many schools have implemented new synchronized modules, including sports and study. Doing physical activities for the environment subject not only makes a child aware of the current situation, but also encourages children to work on it. All right, what does that mean? And where is this idea of entertainment? Again, you're talking about new synchronized modules, so it feels like you're really talking about methodology. I don't see anything about fun, enjoyment, entertainment, okay? And then you say to work on it. But what is that it? Because look at all the nouns that you wrote here. You wrote physical activities, environment subject, which is awkward. I think you mean doing physical activity. I'm not really sure what you mean there. Current situation, and then children. So work on what? What does this it refer to? It's just not clear. So this method inculcates the ability of interpersonal skill and cognitive skills, awkward, interpersonal and cognitive skills among students by playing games with their classmates. It has been proven from the research that in the USA, many schools have incorporated educational games in schools, and 90% of the students found it the best way to learn difficult subjects. Thus, introducing these procedures is fruitful for school learners. Okay, here you talked about it. You said educational games. So there's this idea of entertainment here, but again, I want you to make sure that that idea is carried out throughout the paragraphs. To conclude, while the prime aim of the educational institution is to teach, I personally believe that through smart classes and using the method of educational games is recommendable. I think you mean recommended, which is required for holistic development. Careful there. Again, you've got this relative clause, and it's not really sure what you're talking about. Because the last word here was recommended. So it sounds like it's referring to what? Smart classes is recommended, educational games is required for holistic development. It's all very confusing here, okay? So also this type of trend will likely to popularize in the future. All right, grammatically that's wrong. You can't something is likely to popularize. And I don't like the fact that the end sentence here starts with also. So you could have just said that it is predicted that this trend will continue to be popular in the future. That's a better option there. Okay? Now I want to go on to your second essay about the enjoyable activity of the child. Here's what you wrote. In the past, there has been a great emphasis on reading in children's education. While some parents encourage their children to read to develop, comma here, and then continue the sentence. Many promote many engaging activities to build a wider range of skills. Careful with this, many. There's so many other words you can use here, so try to vary them up a little bit. Don't just use the same vocabulary word so many times, and certainly not so close together. So many promote various engaging activities or a variety of engaging activities, but something else. I believe more engaging activities can build a wider range of skills. You just said a wider range of skills. So let's change this around a little bit so there's not so much repetition. Let's try it again. While some parents encourage their children to read to develop, comma, many promote various engaging activities to build a wider range of skills, and I personally support this latter viewpoint. Okay? It's different language, but you're very clearly expressing which side you are on. In this essay, we'll use examples from sports, activities, and drawing to illustrate my argument. Fine. Firstly, the practice of group sports develops a child's not special, I think you mean spatial, A-T-I. This is largely because most sports require the sportsman to maneuver an object within a fixed space. For example, the 2012 DVLA survey found that 70% of drivers who play sports passed a driving test on their first or second attempt. This indicates that the development of spatial with a T awareness can be linked to sports. Okay. Okay, trying to understand this. So you're basically telling me that if a child plays sports, it will improve his or her spatial awareness, and then he'll be able to pass his driving test later. I think that's what you're telling me. Okay, I'll go with it. Fine. Secondly, an engaging activity like painting can inspire creativity in a child in a unique way. This is due to the fact that what? Oh, that art. So get rid of the and add a T here. That art requires the creation and expression of a visual experience. For instance, a UK school survey found 60% of children, we never write kids in IELTS, who practice painting in childhood excelled in professions requiring creativity, including architecture, graphic design, and fashion. This demonstrates that the practice of art at an early age develops a creative adult. Okay, that's clear. I understood this well, so no problems there. In summary, there are a whole host of skills that can be obtained and enhanced by the practice of a number of childhood activities. While in the past there was an emphasis on the 3 R's, okay, it is no longer the case today. You don't need a capital here. Be careful with this expression 3 R's. It's very nice that you know it. Although remember, this is a fairly academic essay, and so I would prefer not to see an expression like that here, okay? Okay, it is no longer the case today. It is predicted that the future education systems will encompass a growing range of activities to help future generations to flourish. All right, that's nice. Okay, I definitely felt like this improved as it continued. So I had some issues with this paragraph. It felt a little underdeveloped to me, and it felt a little, like it needed a little more, okay? So essentially you focused on, first of all, it's supposed to be skills, plural. All right, you focused on one skill, which was spatial awareness, and then here you focused on creativity. I think you probably should have mentioned an additional skill here that children develop. You know, maybe you could also say that sports helps, you know, foster sportsmanship and, you know, how to lose with dignity and, you know, competition and teamwork. So there are a lot of things that you could have added here. So essentially, you really could have just, you know, added 2 extra sentences, seriously, and then this would have been a much richer essay because you would have talked about skills here rather than just this one skill of spatial awareness. All right, however, for your first set of essays, it's a nice job. So what I need you to do now is the following. The first thing you need to do is correct these essays based on this video correction. Send that back to us. Also, you'll need to create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes you've been making and then add next to each mistake what the correct version would be. And then the third thing you have to do is, of course, send us a new set of essays. So go ahead, get that started, and we'll meet back here with your new set of essays. I'm looking forward to it. Good luck. Okay, therefore, this technique is not beneficial for the learner. This technique is not only beneficial for the learner, but also entertaining.